today in Rich in Relationship. We're going to talk about
why you sometimes feel like you're roommates, why you can be in a house with your wife and your kids and sometimes feel completely alone. Because what happens is you're in the house and you're both kind of doing your own thing and you're not actually feeding the relationship. Once you know where you are and know that on your own, you cannot fix it, that's where the opportunity is. Welcome to another episode of Rich in Relationship. Today we're talking about lost in the same house, why men and women feel alone in their marriage. I'm Rich Heller, I'm your host, and welcome to the show. You've done everything you thought you should, everything you thought you could to be the best husband you possibly can. You worked your buns off and provided. You made sure that the house was secure and safe for your family. You have stayed committed. And yet, one day you wake up, you look over and you go, how did I get here? Who is this person? This is not the woman I married. You feel like maybe a stranger in your own home. You ask yourself, why does my wife seem so distant? Why do I feel so alone? Well, first, I'm here to tell you, you don't have to be alone. Not in your home, not anywhere. That's another podcast. But you're here now. You're not alone. I'm here with you. And I want you to know I know this pain personally, and I'm front. You know, my story is that I was running a $1 million+ business, had the beautiful house and the beautiful wife and all the kids and all the things that go with it. And one day I realized I felt so alone. And in that day, everything turned around. And it can for you too. Like once you know where you are and know that on your own, you cannot fix it, that's where the opportunity is. So when you feel like roommates rather than partners, when you feel like you're leading parallel lives, it's a signal that emotional distance has drifted in. And how did you get there? All right. So the first thing I want you to understand is that drift in a relationship or in anything is normal and natural. That's not good. It's just the way of the world. It's like, you ever see those guys spinning the plates and they go away and the plates slow down? Entropy, drift is a natural part of being in the universe. And without inputting more energy, things naturally slow down and come apart. Men and women often forget this when it comes to their marriage, when it comes to their relationship. Men and women take for granted that they're in the house together, they're having an experience together, so they must be putting into it. But that's not what happens. What happens is you're in the house and you're both kind of doing your own thing, and you're not actually feeding the relationship. You're not spinning the plate, and it slows down. And eventually one day you wake up with an experience like I had. Hey, and this happens to pretty much every marriage, especially when there's children involved, right? Because the truth is, here's how life works. The more we grow, the more life demands that we grow, right? Every time we hit a peak, we start the next leg of the journey. There's always a demand for us to get bigger and grow more. And when children arrive, that is the big marriage demand. All of a sudden, husband and wife are struggling just to take care of the kids, much less take care of themselves, and forget about taking care of each other. Well, very often when kids arrive, couples don't reset because they haven't got a habit or a tradition of getting together and nurturing each other in the relationship. And so that entropy thing happens, that drift happens. And the thing is, if you're a man, we talked about this a little bit in the last episode, you've got a relational blind spot to begin with. Brains that evolve in testosterone, as we talked about in several episodes, are very linear and goal-oriented. They're not so tuned into micro-expression and emotion. And so relationally, we're almost cripples compared to women. Now, your wife may be giving you relational signals, but because we're a little blind about this, we might be missing them. I would love to lean in here and say, it's your wife's responsibility. She's relationship strong. But the truth is, she probably has been giving you signals. Probably the reason why You feel like half the time you talk, it's a fight or you're avoiding a fight. Or probably the reason why some of you are being threatened with divorce right now, the D words come up on either or lips, is because your wife is trying to wake you up, right? Wives, very often, they're trying desperately to get the attention of the husband. And wives who are listening, I want you to get that your man is thick relationally. So the cues that you give your girlfriends that they recognize, he's not going to recognize. You almost need to be blunt with him, ladies. You almost need to say to him, honey, I love you. I don't know what to do to make this work. Could we please sit down and talk once a week? You're almost going to need to take the lead on this, even though you want him to. And men, she wants you to take the lead in certain areas of life, particularly when things are troubled. So there's when things are troubled in the relationship, it's a serious wake-up call. What if the cues your wife are giving you to connect are the ones you're unintentionally ignoring, or maybe you're misinterpreting? Maybe you're interpreting them as a call for a fight, but really what she's doing is just calling. Think about it. Truthfully, men unconsciously rely on women to lead in building relationships and emotional connections because brains that evolve in estrogen are better wired for it. And women within their own subculture build each other up and train each other, whereas men within their subculture don't focus as much on emotion. We tend to focus on getting the job done. We tend to focus on making sure everything works. We tend to focus on making sure that the money's coming in. We tend to focus on making sure that the light's on. We tend to focus on stuff like that. We're just not as emotionally tuned in. So let's unpack some of the possible misinterpretations. Your wife says, honey, Timmy's having trouble in school. We got to talk. And you say, well, I'm working with Timmy all the time, right? What do you hear? Maybe you hear criticism, but really she just wants to talk. Or what if your goal-oriented behavior has become so strong that you've disregarded your wife's need for some emotional input? You're all about, if I have a need, I take care of it. If I'm hungry, I eat. If I'm feeling energized, I exercise. If I'm feeling alone, I have sex. Well, she goes at it differently than you. For her, she feels with you, and so she wants to have sex. For you, you want to have sex so that you can feel with her. You have different approaches to the same need. You both have that need. You both have that want. She wants and desires to be with you, but she goes at it differently than you. And so it's part of the journey here is about understanding how she speaks. And ladies, part of the journey here is educating your man as to how you speak. Instead of saying to him, that's all you want from me, educate him as to, you know what, honey, for me to be intimate with you, I need to feel intimate with you. I need to feel safe. I need to feel like we have a partnership. Let's work on that. Miscommunication of these needs is what's causing the roommate syndrome. The miscommunication, the misreading, either speaking in a way that your partner can't hear it or receiving what your partner's saying in a way that's different than what they're actually expressing or trying to get at. This is what's been driving parallel lives. And so the communication is really central here. Over time, attempts to communicate are going to dwindle as you avoid conflict. And you're probably wondering, what happened to us? The result of this is that in these relationships that lead to parallel lives, the wife frequently feels not heard. Just not heard. She feels like she's saying something and he's just not hearing it. You're just not hearing it. But for you, the guy, and I'm directing this to men mostly, but I'm sharing this information in a way that's, I hope, is helpful for women also. For you, the guy, you may feel heard but not understood. Right? And the difference is that women communicate mostly first. Their primary goal is that everybody hears each other's feeling before they get to problem solving. Men are problem solving with less concern about hearing. And so they want to be understood because understanding means that you're bought into the solution to the problem and want to feel respected. Hey, I'm solving the problem. Respect that I'm solving this problem. Respect that I'm in this for us. Emotional exhaustion on her part leads to detachment. And for men, emotional exhaustion leads to doing other things. Oh, well, I don't seem to be succeeding here, but I really care about the relationship. So I'm going to do something else. I'm going to work harder. I'm going to make the house look better. I'm going to whatever. I'm going to go hang out with the guys where somebody who understand with people who understand me and respect me. What I want you to get is changing this is going to require a certain level of openness and proactivity. I mean, what if instead of reacting to the drift, you became the one, fellas, to rebuild the bridge? In order to rebuild the bridge, however, let's go back to what we talked about in the previous episode. You got to have a firm foundation on your side. If you're all shaky and unsure on your side, if you're still trying to please her by being a yes man or a nice guy all the time instead of when it's appropriate, then the foundation is soft. All right. In order to build a bridge, the starting point is to make sure your foundation is solid, to make sure that you know what it is, what you want, know what it is you stand for, know where it is you want to go. And here's the soft part. If she doesn't agree with you for some reason, and here's the bridge building part, you need to be open to listening. And there's tools that you can use to help you listen. There's committed listening. There's I statements that's on our website, richinrelationship.com. Check it out. And you got to get that change doesn't require like big gestures. And change in this context, all right, is painfully slow at first. You want to celebrate the small wins. You want to start really with the smallest, not even baby steps. Think of it as crawling. You're just learning how to move your knee and how to move your hand. For men in emotion, very often, it's not baby steps, it's crawling. You need to be, guys, we need to be clear about what our intention is. Is our intention to win? Is our intention to be right? Or is our intention to connect? All right, remember that when you were dating, you were all about connecting. Remember that when you were dating, you would have gone an extra mile for her. This is the kind of attitude you're going to need to bring in now. Even though you're past being in love, you need to bring that attitude in, that strength in if you want to build this bridge, and it's not going to happen quickly. You need to set aside distractions and be fully present. You're going to need to reinforce these little teeny steps. And as you do, you are gradually going to build trust and create space for reconnection. And get that the first step for her, the first baby step for her in building trust is going to be to test where you're coming from. Are you trying to fix her, manipulate, or control her? Or are you authentically trying to connect with her? And she's going to test it. She's going to test it by pushing your buttons. And how you react is everything. And that's why the personal work is so important. I can't tell you how many men I've helped identify their triggers, remove the triggers even, so that they're no longer reactive. How many men I've helped to understand what their wife really was doing when they thought she was attacking them, criticizing them, putting them down, belittling them. She wasn't doing those things. She was desperately, desperately trying to connect. Parallel lives isn't going to end overnight. It isn't going to end quickly, but it can end incrementally over time. If you're willing to first rediscover your own personal sense of mission, your own personal purpose, your sense of principles, and then caringly, through kindness, courtesy, love, and respect, express those in a way that's not invested in a particular outcome. We need, as men, need to be able to share what's important to us and what has meaning to us without trying to change the other person, which is something that men lean into frequently. Sometimes we do it unconsciously. We don't even know we're doing it. It's like we're wired to fix what's broken. And when we perceive that, or we make a judgment that what's going on over there is brokenness, we want to fix it. You can't fix it. We can't fix them. We can't change them. We can only help them if they ask for help or want it. We can offer help and be refused. But when we do it without asking permission, we're basically criticizing. Just get that anytime that we offer feedback or criticism to our partner and they haven't asked for it, that's really, they perceive that as tearing them down. They don't perceive it as building them up. If they ask for it, that's different. But unsolicited feedback is a form of tearing down. So next episode, we're going to explore the cultural dynamics that have led to this problem, this male-female relational dynamic. And because why is that important? Because the seeds of history and culture are inside of us. And so part of what we're doing is we're processing this, we are learning, we are growing, we are changing, we are becoming stronger and more resilient husbands by learning this. Check out Rich in Relationship for those tools I talked about, richinrelationship.com, and have a wonderful day and an amazing tomorrow.